But this is my 7th Rosh Hashanah together with you here in our Or Shalom community. And as we talk about blessings in this new year and choosing blessings, I want to say thank you. Thank you to this incredible Or Shalom community and family who has certainly made my family always feel at home here with you. While we've been together over these 7 years, I suppose it's likely that you may have noticed that I have a love of baseball. But you may not know that my affinity towards the world's best sport is connected to my love of our Torah. You see, beneath the surface of the game of baseball, there's a story that's happening on the field of play. And if you're not a baseball person, please don't tune me out quite yet. I promise we're going somewhere with this. Now, have you ever thought to ask yourself, what is baseball really all about? A player starts at home and sets out to leave. Right? Where does that batter go? The batter goes around the bases with the intention of arriving back home safely. Only this incredible game acknowledges that upon making it back home, there's been something significant that has happened along the way. The player has gained something, and as a result, the whole team has grown in what it has when they're able to welcome this player home. That's why the team is given a run. Each time they successfully guide a player in a journey around the bases to return home, the whole team benefits, the whole team grows. Home becomes richer. Well, this is the story that's told again and again in our Torah. The story of people who leave home and go on a journey in order to seek what home can become. Whether the jarring and harsh story of Abraham and Isaac that we read today, in which the father and son leave home and are forever changed by the events that happen up there on that mountain. Or the saga of Rebekah, who leaves her home in order to join the person who becomes the love of her life, and they are able to create and build a new home together. Or the story of the collective journey of the Israelites who left their homes in Egypt and left slavery behind in order to come back to the land of Israel and establish their new societal home of freedom, of peace. Our Torah is filled with chronicles of growth as our biblical ancestors discovered for themselves just what home can be. Only when they returned home, I don't think they celebrated with fist bumps as our baseball players do, at least as far as we know. But this story for searching for, going out, and then returning home that we find in baseball and in our stories of Torah, this is the story of our lives as well. It's the story of growing up. It's the journey of finding who we want to become and establishing ourselves amidst community. It's the story of our high holidays. Hashivenu, we return. We return over a year's journey. We've gone out, and now here we are back home with a chance to reflect, how have we grown? What have we acquired on our journey? How have we advanced ourselves and our family? We live this narrative, sometimes with great successes, and sometimes we strike out a lot as we strive to build what home can become for us. And since our Torah tells the story that we are trying to live, our Torah can be a gift, especially in times like this. It can be a source of guidance, offering us the chance to learn from the mistakes and triumphs of others without having to walk those missteps ourselves. And it can be a source of support, helping us to see that it's possible to achieve even when the challenges around us seem unassailable. This is one of the reasons our Torah is considered our Eitz Chaim, our tree of life, and has been depicted as the center, the focal point of our community as Jewish people. In times like today, in chaotic and challenging times filled with uncertainty, I know we're all feeling a bit like we've had to leave home, metaphorically, even those of us who haven't been able to leave home physically. These times have pushed us out of our comfort zones, of what we've known. And this is where our Torah can become a grounding influence for us, a source of guidance and support and new perspective to help us find home again. Now, just like in baseball, there are many approaches at the plate that a player can use to help their team succeed. Likewise, there are many entry points and accessible avenues to allow the Torah into our hearts to help us. One tradition that exists in order to help us find new insights to the Torah, especially at this time of year, and help us connect the Torah to our current lives and inspire our journeys around the bases in this new year to come, is the practice of gematria, the practice of assigning numerical values to our Hebrew words. You see, in Hebrew, every letter has a value, a numerical value. Aleph, the first letter of the alphabet, is 1. Bet, the second letter, is 2. All the way so on and so forth till you have the last letter, Tav, which is actually 400. Once you get past 10, they start counting by tens and then by hundreds. That's how you get to 400. There are not 400 letters in the alphabet. Well, gematria is the academic game of finding connections in the numerical values of words. This is one of the reasons gematria is why we make donations in multiples of 18. Because 18 it makes up the word chai. Chet plus yud. Chet is 8, yud is 10. Put them together, you've got 18. And the word chai means life. And so 18 is a number that signifies life. When we give $18, metaphorically speaking, we've been giving a gift of life. Well, this tradition of gematria also exists as we approach a new year. There's a tradition of linking Torah verses to the new year by finding sections in the Torah whose words correspond to this year, 5782. And thanks to Daniel Matt, a leading scholar of the Zohar, a Jewish mystical text, he's identified some beautiful ways for our Torah to frame this year through this practice of gematria. In fact, he declared this to be the year of you shall not hate. Since the words lo tisna that appear in Leviticus 19:17 mean exactly this. They teach us, do not hate in your hearts. Take those words, lo tisna, add all the letters together, and you've got 782. For some reason in this tradition, we ignore the thousands place. Who knows? But 782 leads us, lo tisna, do not hate. And wouldn't this be a great way to make this year a better year for us all? To live without hatred in our hearts and to inspire others to do so as well. It's a call to make this a year of love, a year of standing up for those who are targets of hatred, a year of fighting against our inclination to hate even when we disagree with someone. That's one way of approaching this year. But Daniel Matt has found a few other phrases that we could use to frame our year, including B'chozek yad hotzi Adonai etchem mizeh. By strength of hand, Adonai brought you out from all of this. These are words in Exodus chapter 13, right smack in the middle of our story of the Exodus from Egypt, describing the ways that God guided the Israelites from slavery into freedom. But when we hear this story, we often interpret it as a way of inspiring us to partner with God in being that strength of hand that lifts others to freedom. Freedom from poverty, freedom from hatred, freedom from grief. What if we take this Torah section and step up to the plate wielding this verse wherever we go in this year? What would it look like if we commit ourselves to lifting those up around us who are most in need of help? This This is how we bring our Torah to life. We live it. Now, I know that the more skeptical of us around here might be saying right now in your hearts, well, these are just coincidences of numbers and words. You could do anything with them. And you might be right. But in preparing this teaching, I was curious about what I might find in Gematria for this past year, the one we're leaving behind. And I came across a word that equals 781, the Hebrew word Ashpat, which literally translates to dunghill. And while I know that not every aspect of this past year was in Ashpat, I can see that there are a lot of us agreeing with this description right now. But I didn't stop there. I looked this word up to see if Ashpat truly did come from our text. And it is there. It is there in Psalms verse 113:7. As it says, God lifts up the poor from the dust, lifts up those in need from the Ashpat, from the dunghill. And it turns out I didn't recognize it immediately, but this psalm is actually a part of our traditional Hallel blessing, the special songs of praise that we recite on special occasions and happy holidays to lift our hearts, to let us know that things can be good again. For those of us who have had a pretty rotten year, isn't this thought uplifting that from the Ashpat we can be lifted up and brought back home? We can come back singing songs of praise and hope and triumph. Kind of the Torah version of Go Cubs Go, or Don't Stop Believin'. I know my Sox references are very 2005. I got to work on those. They're a bit dated. Anyway, this verse, a verse like this, sometimes this is exactly what we need to hear when we are in the Ashpat. We need to hear that things will get better, that they can improve, that the challenges of today can be overcome, and we can do so together. Sometimes we just need to hear this hope. And that's something that our Torah can bring to us as well. So I want to share one more verse for you for this year. It's a verse that I want to invite us all as a community to work together to embrace in this next year. Pakad alai livnot. This comes from the book of Ezra. He has ordered me to build. You see, Ezra was a prophet who built and established the ritual of reading Torah publicly and bringing it to the people with transparency so that we could each own and make the Torah stories our own, so that we can live the Torah. Ezra recognized that if this document was made up of words, sat on a scroll, and was never read and never studied and never encountered, it wouldn't mean anything. Rather, we have to take these words of Torah to heart in order to live them. And in doing so, we can build the home that the laws and stories of our tradition inspire us to create. And that's why I want to invite all of us to make this our congregational theme for the year, to make this a year of living Torah. I invite you to shape our next year by engaging with our core stories and acknowledging the resonance of our central text in our lives. Throughout the year, we'll be connecting our learning opportunities, our weekly updates, our J-squared religious school journeys to this theme of living Torah so that we can all find access to ways we can live Torah in this new year. But living Torah doesn't mean that we just follow the words of the text of Torah. Living Torah describes how we come together as a community, as a team, to strengthen our sense of home through connections with one another, through acts of loving kindness and pursuit of justice that improves the world for those around us, and through, yes, the learning that helps us to gain insights on what we want that home to look like. And so we invite you to lean into this theme in 5782, to allow the Torah to ground us in these times of misinformation and over-politicization, giving us from our Torah a core to respond from. This year we'll have all kinds of offerings, so look for opportunities that we'll be sending to you throughout this year. Opportunities to join a chavurah, a small group of friends, which will provide a more intimate family within our congregational family for people with whom to celebrate this year and to build meaningful moments together. You can live Torah by becoming a part of our racial justice discussion groups, exploring who you want to be in this space, by joining our social action committee or any of our tasks. And one of our first Living Torah events will actually even be this Thursday night online, a virtual opportunity to share a special vidui prayer for racism, a special I'm sorry prayer for the ways in which we are a part of the racism that exists in our world. We invite you to live Torah by attending one of the many learning opportunities that are going to happen throughout the year to help us gain new insights. And a highlight of this year of Living Torah will be that we are commissioning the writing of a new Torah scroll, bringing a new Torah to life, both physically and metaphorically. You'll find out more in the coming weeks about this special and unique project, but we will all have a chance to engage in the mitzvah, the commandment of building and living Torah in so many different ways. And that's what we are here on this day to remember, to remind us that the Torah is here to guide us and to offer us many avenues of meaning making and community building in creating the home that we want to return to. Let us allow the Torah to guide us as an Or Shalom family. And in trying to do so, we will bring the Torah to life. And so as we strive to live the Torah in this next year, I pray that Or Shalom can be one of those homes for each of us. A place where we can each share our journeys, where we can feel like we've advanced our congregational team through our trips around the bases and come out stronger because of our journeys. Let Or Shalom be the place where we can support one another as we grow and through our actions together build a better world for all. May this year help us to find the home we want to create together. L'shana tova, batter up.
Where does the journey begin? Where will we go? Hours pass, the answers might change as we keep moving along. Stand at the shores of the sea, fearful we want to turn back. The sea parts, our eyes fill with wonder as we go along on our journey. Where does the journey begin? Where will we go? Days pass, the answers can change as we keep moving along. Stepping into the unknown, hear the echoes of a Miriam song. We awake and retelling our stories as we go along on our journey. Where does the journey begin? Where will we go? Years pass, the answers have changed as we keep moving along. Cross the sea, it's the time to sing a song. We are free Dance with your timbrels in hand. There's no turning back from this journey. Where does the journey begin? Where will we go? Hours pass, the answers might change as we keep moving along. Days pass, the answers can change as we keep moving along. Years pass, the answers have changed as we keep moving along.